So here's what's interesting, though, right? I don't know how long I've been reading the Bible. I don't know, and never knew this, right? This is cool. Maybe it'll bless you too. In the court of women, there was 2 huge candlesticks, massive, that they would light. Well, back 1,000 years before this, around King David, they didn't have to light the candles in the temple because God's glory would keep the temple lit. You're like, that's weird. Well, it is what it is, okay? God's presence would be the light in the temple. Much like if you read the book of Revelation, it says when we go to heaven, is there going to be a sun? No, there's not, okay? Is there going to be a moon in heaven? No, there's not. There's going to be the sun, and the sun is going to be so bright. The glory of God, when we see him on that day, is going to be so bright that he's going to light up heaven. And that's the light that we're going to have in heaven. We're not going to have a big star in the sky for the purpose of light. So my point is, back around 1000 BC, up until that point, right before King Saul, okay, around the time of Samuel the prophet, God's glory, up until that point, the tabernacle of meeting, when they came out of Egypt, when Moses built that tabernacle that was temporary, and then they built a more solidified temple later. So God's glory was in the temple, and it was the light. Well, around the time of Samuel the prophet, God's people, maybe you're God's people, but God's people, at this time the Hebrews, the Israelites, the people of faith living in Israel, began to like the things of the world more than God. Now, they said they liked God more, but their actions proved that they liked the things of the world more. Ever happened? Yeah, me too. But it continued. That downward slide continued. That's also when they were ruled by God, a theocracy. In other words, they didn't have President Biden or President whoever ruling over an official capacity. God was the leader. And the priests would seek the Lord in prayer for the will of the country, and then they would live that out. It was pretty cool. Well, they wanted a king. They didn't want God to lead them anymore. They're like, everybody else has got a president. We want a president. So God was like, all right. It was about that time the Philistines came and attacked Israel, one of their enemies. And what did they do? They took the Ark of the Covenant. I know I'm giving a bunch of stuff. Sorry if this is boring to you. Just hang through this part. We're setting the table up for dinner, all right? So we're putting the plates out. So they took the Philistines came to Israel, all right, and they stole the Ark of the Covenant. And the Ark was just a box with the 2 angels over it, and it had 2 poles so you could carry it. And all it was a symbol of God's glory. It wasn't God, but God chose this situation, this piece of furniture, to reflect his goodness and the relationship that he wanted with mankind. He's like, here's this symbol of my presence. So you got the light in the temple. They didn't need a candle to light the temple until this moment. When the ark was taken away, God's glory left the temple. And he no longer lit it up or kept it lit. They began to have to light some candles to have some light. And so Jesus is standing here beside these 2 huge light posts in the temple that they didn't used to have. And he says, I'm the light of the world. In other words, this is what you've been looking for. You've been trying to light it with all kinds of other stuff. You've been looking for hope. You've been seeking fulfillment. And he's like, it's right here. You battle that?